in ways we've never considered. Eric's background is diverse. Hello, Eric. How are you today?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Kerryn. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast. Thank you for having me.
It's fabulous to have you here as well. Eric's an engineer and data specialist with over 15 years of industry experience, spanning automotive, mining, oil and gas, and paper and pulp. With a background in industrial engineering and computer science, Eric has built a career at the intersection of people, processes, and systems, helping organisations integrate technology and data-driven solutions to optimise their operations. Having worked on projects ranging from business systems, deployments to data analytics and workflow development, Eric understands the technical and operational challenges of large-scale industries. He thrives in cross-functional teams, acting as a change agent to deliver practical and impactful solutions. Beyond his technical expertise, Eric is passionate about knowledge sharing and empowering others, and that's where we collide. In recent times, he's had the opportunity to focus on his public speaking skills, pitching commercial ideas, sharing his origin, his refugee story, including contribution to a book and other social media outlets, being invited to participate in public speaking competitions, co-hosting and organising a storytelling event. The engagement has brought a deep sense of purpose and opportunity from the connections with people from a wider community. So, enough of that. Eric, welcome. I'm so looking forward to this conversation and hearing more about your background, career highlights, and all the other bits that go together. So let's start. Where were you? Where did you grow up, and what were you doing when you were 7 years old?
Yeah, good question, Kerryn. Well, I grew up in the outer eastern suburbs of Ferntree Gully. And look, during that time, I would have been one of the first Asian kids in primary school. And the suburb was quite a working class area with, a lot of families just starting out. So my beginnings at primary school were, I guess, somewhat challenging in the sense that I was the only Asian kid, and coming from my parents' background, they didn't speak any English or a little at the time, so I was the first, I guess, person in the family to go to school. In Australia. So it was an interesting beginning for them, and it was the start of my journey here in Australia.
And when you were growing up and a young child, and I know you rode your bike in the street just like I did you ever think you'd end up in engineering and data science?
Look, that's a great point. Back back then, yeah, we didn't have any smartphones. We didn't have the internet. My typical childhood was riding my BMX with my mates, going up to the milk bar, buying 50 cents worth of mixed lollies, and then going down to the creek to catch yabbies. So, engineering wasn't in the forefront of my mind back then. And I guess it gradually evolved, Karen. So when I was in primary school, my dad bought me an Amiga 500 for Christmas, and then that was my first introduction to desktop computers. And I guess from there, into my high school years, my curiosity grew, and um, I excelled at mathematics, not so much in literature, English, and history. So I had a natural inclination towards anything that was analytical. So it was a natural progression for me to decide to, undertake my engineering studies, which, I coupled with computer science.
Not my area at all, but definitely needing skills to be creative with your thinking, and maybe that's where we cross over. Time when you're looking for more than your technical experience and background.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the best example of that, me wanting to expand my horizons, Kerryn, was shortly after I completed my double degree. I really wanted to explore the world. So imagine this, I was in my mid-20s and I never set foot outside of Australia other than, not even going to Tasmania. So I thought to myself, wow, how can I combine exploring the world with, furthering my technical experience? So I applied for a program called ISEC, which is an international traineeship program, and they place people, all over the world, typically students. And I thought, wow, that would be a great platform for me to expand my horizons and, travel overseas as well as garnering some international work experience. So that's when I kind of looked outside of the technical realm of engineering and IT and thought, wow, what's actually out there, and how could I immerse myself in a foreign experience that could ultimately benefit me from a personal and a cultural perspective.
Fabulous. And it's that stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something like that that I think is just so important. And I never had the good fortune to uh, have that experience to study overseas or whatever, but I have always taken up every opportunity to travel and get on a plane and go and see how other people live. And I think that's one of the things I really like out of having conversations and hearing what other people do, because it's like virtual reality, really, living through someone else's experiences.
Absolutely.
When we connected after the workshop, you had in mind that you wanted to approach someone within your organisation, perhaps to be a mentor for you. What were you thinking about at that time, and how did that play out after our conversation?
Yeah, so that was, I believe, back in 2023. So I think you hosted a masterclass for our company, and I found it really refreshing and insightful. And the key thing that triggered me to seek mentorship is I came to a point in my career where I kind of thought, other than my technical experience, what other skills can I, work on? So I was really looking at ways to develop my soft skills. And I knew, Karen, at the time that my communication and public speaking skills were okay, but I really wanted to double down and go all in and, just explore how I could, further that development. So I applied for, I put in my application to be a mentee within my company, and I was matched to a mentor who was based in the Melbourne office. And look, she had a very diverse background in marketing, retail, and project management. So it was quite, left field from my, IT and um, exposure to heavy industry. So I thought, that would have been a really good synergy because I wanted to bring a different perspective to my current stage in my career.
Mhm.
And look, um, yeah, that was a really great opportunity just to get another person's perspective and yeah, just connect with another professional who is outside my usual domain.
Believe it's so important to have that extra set of eyes and that to develop that um, opportunity to learn about others. In fact, I always say we learn so much about each other and ourselves when we
Mm.
engage in a conversation. What's one of the lessons that you've learned from mentoring?
Yeah, look, I've experienced two sides of the coin. So as a mentee, I really appreciate the opportunity to connect and share my experience with another professional. And I think during that mentoring journey, I really appreciated, as I mentioned, Kerryn, the extra set of eyes and a different perspective, because my usual day to day would be working with, IT professionals, project managers, architects, business analysts, etc. So to have a marketing professional provide a different lens, a different perspective as to, what she saw of what I accomplish and, what my other avenues or potential could be was really refreshing, and it just helped me strategize as to what other areas of my personal development that I could explore. So hence, my journey in the public speaking realm and, getting involved in storytelling and pitching, that's how it really evolved. It kind of stemmed from there.
That's fantastic. Now I know a lot of people say that public speaking is, the next worst thing you can possibly do, and they find it incredibly daunting. So, how did you take that step? What way did you get involved, and what's been the pathway for you?
Yeah, look, that's an interesting reflection question, Kerryn. It was quite intentional. So last year in February, I attended, the Speakers Institute boot camp. And look, I was okay as a public speaker. I mean, I did some Shark Tank pitching, and I knew I had some level of competency
I
in
never knew
my.
that about you. That's another conversation.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah. So, um, yeah. So with the boot camp, it was solely, to work on your messaging and to, uplift your public speaking skills. And it was quite intense. It was from a Friday, a Saturday, 72 hours, well, I think it was like 40 hours across 3 days. And during that period, I saw quite a significant transformation, particularly within my confidence. And completing that boot camp gave me an insight into what was possible, but it certainly uplifted my confidence to be able to, go out into the workplace and into real world scenarios where I could, utilize that skill. And it's definitely a skill where if you don't work on it, refine it, then it's definitely perishable.
Mm. And such a valuable skill, isn't it? Not only just in your workplace, but in your social life with birthdays and eulogies and all the things that happen in a lifetime when you have to stand up and be able to put some words together and share a story. So, can you share a moment where perhaps you've had to speak up, and the training that you had has really helped you to make a difference or to get your point across?
Absolutely. So there probably several examples. I guess the one mentioned, or the example that I mentioned was the Shark Tank pitching internally. Um, as a part of our innovation program within our company, we had to pitch an idea, which was a project, a concept, etc. And so I pitched an idea to use a piece of technology out in the field, which could potentially reduce the number of the travel time and the frequency to, go and visit or service a particular piece of equipment. And, for the first time in my life, I had to step into the role as like, a salesperson. And that is quite different to what I do, day to day with, IT infrastructure, contracts and dealing with end users. So it was quite different. And for me, the challenge was I'm not a sales type person. I've never been in that marketing role. So to pitch an idea, it's a form of communication, but there is a strategy and a skill behind that. And the story goes, I put in two applications. So I pitched twice at the first internal Shark Tank, and then I did two pitches in the second, and the third on the third pitch, I believe I was successful, and they offered me the prize to attend an innovation conference of my choice, and back my idea. So that is an example of how, if you really um, refine your communications and have a strategy to deliver an idea, that public speaking can be such a powerful tool that you can utilize.
Yeah, that's a fabulous example. And interestingly enough, in my business community in the coming month, we're looking at pitching and storytelling and how
Yes.
powerful it is. And I was actually talking with a mutual friend of ours today about that. So it's interesting that you underline that value of that storytelling, pitching, confidence piece. Before I finish, I'd like to ask you if there are three key lessons from your journey that you'd like to share with people or the listeners that will stick with them and help them to take that step forward. You've mentioned that it's helped you to refine your approach. It's taken you to an area that you hadn't explored before about yourself and open up doorways for you. But what would be three steps that someone should take, in your opinion?
Personally, I kind of feel that if I began the journey earlier on in my career, I might have, taken on a different trajectory.
Mhm.
However, my biggest piece of advice, Kerryn, is to just make a start. So wherever you start, whether it be, turning up at your local Toastmasters club, rostrum, I'm involved in a group called Speakers Tribe, just go on that journey and build that public speaking muscle. It's definitely something that if you don't keep working at and have some intentional focus, then you can quite easily lose traction and momentum. So the first piece of advice is to, definitely, get started. So take those baby steps. The second advice I would recommend is either go on some type of professional training course, whether it be a boot camp, engage in some one-on-one coaching, um, and then that will further actualize um, your progression, because not only are you learning the theory, but if you can, couple the training or coaching with some real world experiences, whether it be, pitching, telling your story at a story event, or doing some type of public presentation, there are pearls of wisdom that you can absorb when you take those micro steps, and you can learn by doing, because like anything, you've got to be able to get on that bike and start pedaling. And once you start pedaling, that momentum builds. So it's just, that ability to continue that journey. And the third step is to look for stepping stone opportunities. So whether it be, a pitch, whether it be presenting at a local networking event like the ones that you run, Kerryn, or just, getting up, um, within your company and doing a technical presentation, they're all very manageable opportunities that you can seek out, and that you can go and further that public speaking muscle. So, with all of those three steps or elements in place, it's, about, continuing that momentum to, move yourself forward.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. I can look at my own journey, and I used to be a classroom teacher, so I was used to talking to children. But to speak to a public group is a different thing, and it is just taking those little steps and knowing that each time you've done it, it's not going to be as hard the next time. And in fact, I'm doing a speaking program at the moment, which is with an organisation called Women Speak, and I'm learning a lot about that just by watching other people's style too and picking up on things. And I also in the business community that I run, we run a thing each year called the YTM Awards, and we have speakers who compete and they talk for 6 minutes on a particular topic. And we've had people speak who have perhaps used a PowerPoint but never used a PowerPoint before, or never spoken to a room of 40 people. And to be judged by your peers, but also to feel the room is with you, really does help you to keep moving that muscle forward. So I agree totally with what you have shared, and you are to be congratulated on taking the step and not just being technical, but recognizing that there's more to life than data, and growing yourself is really a great step forward as well. Before we finish, I'd like to ask you a question, and it's one of the questions that's in the Conversations Count game that I created during COVID. And even if you play the game or something, or you know someone really well, sometimes you could be really surprised by their answer. Now, I don't know you particularly well, but if you took a card from the Vision and Courage pack, it could be, if you took one photograph to depict your life right now, what would it be?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I feel at this current point in my life, if I took a picture, it would be of myself standing on the side of a mountain. So the metaphor would be the mountain, and it would be me just, standing on the side of it. It wouldn't be at the top, it wouldn't be at the bottom, but it would be somewhere at the middle. And the reason why I say that is because if I look down that mountain, I can see the journey in which I have traveled. And then if I look up the mountain, I can see, the target, the destination, or, the focus, which is kind of representative or metaphoric on, my journey as a professional and in public speaking. So it's not that I've finished, but it's to remind me that it's a continuation of the journey, and appreciating all the people that have been there to support me. But looking forward and looking up, it's we still need to move forward and continue that trajectory. So that's a reminder to me to say that I haven't reached the peak of the summit, but I'm still traveling in that direction.
I love it. And I'm a very visual learner, so I can see that picture perfectly. And in fact, I was involved in a workshop last week where we had to put out pictures that represented how we were feeling about different areas. And that's so aligned with what we were doing. Fantastic. So your story really is a reminder that technical expertise is not enough, and that human connection is a really powerful, necessary thing to add to our lives. So what's next for Eric M?
Um, for me, Karen, I mean, I've got uh, a quite a challenging role, in my technical profession. And look, I'm still, evolving in my public speaking journey, and I'll still continue to follow that pathway. One of the other areas of passion that I've been involved with, Kerryn, is, as I mentioned, I'm involved in Stories That Stir, which is a platform that allows individuals to share their lived experience stories. And the reason why I'm passionate about that is I shared my story as, a refugee on that platform last year twice. And I now have the opportunity to become a co-host and an organizer. So I'd like to pay that forward and allow other individuals to share, what really matters to them, so that, we can build a community of connectedness. And the core themes for me is connectedness, empathy, and a sense of belonging. So that's why I got involved in Stories That Stir, and I hope others can join me on that journey as well.
Wonderful. And if people wanted to connect with you, Eric, what is the best platform? Is it LinkedIn?
Yes, Kerryn, definitely it would be LinkedIn. I welcome all connection requests, particularly from like-minded professionals. And you look, if I don't see those individuals at face-to-face networking events, then I'm always welcome to connect with them on the LinkedIn platform.
Wonderful. And right to finish off, have you got a final thought for us or a closing quote?
Yes, I do. And I researched this quote. It's from Amy Cuddy. If you're familiar with the work from Amy Cuddy, Kerryn, she's a social psychologist, and she's really big into the body language and the confidence. And I'll just share with you the quote. The way you tell your story to yourself matters more than the story itself. And that is the quote by Amy Cuddy.
Thank you. I shall remember that tonight when I share my story in my group. And I thank you so much. And I look forward to further conversations with you and watching your growth as a speaker and a connection of mine. So thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you kindly, Kerryn. It was a pleasure and a privilege to be on your podcast. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me on Conversations and Connections today. I hope this conversation sparked new ideas and reminded you of the power of meaningful connections. A huge thank you to all of our guests for sharing their valuable insights and inspiring stories. Visit my website at kerrynpowell.com.au. You'll find resources, insights, and opportunities to work with me to make every conversation count and create lasting impact. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, and leave a review to help spread the word. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and let's start making an impact together, one conversation at a time.